Hospitals warned not to risk patient safety over staffing of wards. The health watchdog NICE recommends a nurse should care for no more than 8 patients. Also, a 14-year-old killed and a 12-year-old seriously injured in a hit and run in Sheffield. And
find these girls and bring them home.
Bring back our girls. Michelle Obama speaks out about the Nigerian abductions.
This is ITV News with Chris Shipp.
Good evening. If hospital nurses are forced to look after more than 8 patients at any one time, the safety of patients could be put at risk. That's according to NICE, the health watchdog that sets standards of care for the NHS in England. Their new draft recommendations have been largely welcomed, but as our political correspondent Romilly Weeks reports, it's not quite as simple as that.
The faces of the many, many people who shouldn't have died at Stafford Hospital. Now part of the legacy of their deaths could be more nurses on our wards, with draft NHS guidelines recommending that one nurse should not normally care for more than 8 patients.
There's clear evidence that when staffing levels get below a certain level, that care isn't delivered. So patients are clearly at risk, and it's really important that these guidelines are followed, that nurses are tracking whether care is being delivered on time.
The France's report into the scandalous care at mid-staffs found that nurse shortages were a direct factor. Bella Bailey was one of those who died. Her daughter Julie wants the government to make the 1:8 ratio mandatory.
What we need for them to do is to push to make sure that 1:8 is implemented within our hospitals. We'd like it to be a statutory requirement.
We've got 3 assistants this afternoon and tonight's numbers.
Some hospitals already make their staffing levels clear. NICE is stopping short of stipulating that 1:8 must be enforced as a minimum. The Royal College of Nursing believes often the number needs to be far lower.
1 in 8 is a broad benchmark that we know if you go over that you have problems. However, there are many clinical settings where you will need levels of 1:1, 1:2, neonatal units, intensive care units, coronary care units.
The Department of Health insists that there are 5,000 more nurses since 2010 and that from June all hospitals will be required to publish information on staffing levels. But whilst no one disputes that more nurses means better care, what's not clear is how hospital trusts are going to manage to pay for them. Romilly Weeks, ITV News at the Department of Health.
A 14-year-old girl has died and another who's 12 is seriously injured after both were involved in a hit-and-run accident. The driver did not stop and is now being hunted by police. It happened in Sheffield last night. Our reporter Ben Chapman is at the scene. So Ben, what more can you tell us?
Well, it was about 9:15 last night when these 2 girls were walking home together from a small park, which is just up this track on the other side of the road. In order to get home, they have to cross it. It is often very busy, traffic is often moving very quickly, and last night they were hit by a car. The 14-year-old Jasmine Chan died at the scene. Her 12-year-old friend was taken to hospital with serious injuries. Now, Jasmine's friends have been coming to the scene here today to leave flowers, to leave messages, to shed tears for their friend. She's been described as an active, friendly girl who was full of giving, in the police's words. They are still looking for the driver of the car who didn't stop, and they're hoping that seeing the impact on this community will encourage that person now to come forward.
They won't have been aware last night of the extent of the injuries because they didn't stop to see, they didn't stop to check on Jasmine. Now they are aware of that. They need to understand the seriousness of it. They need to understand the impact upon Jasmine's family and her friends and her schools.
Well, local campaigners here have been telling us today that they've warned about the speeds on this road for some time. It is a 30 limit, but standing here you get the sense that some of the traffic is going quite a bit faster than that. Those local campaigners say it shouldn't have taken someone dying on this road to bring it to people's attention.
Ben in Sheffield, thank you. Michelle Obama says she's outraged and heartbroken over the kidnapping of almost 300 schoolgirls in Nigeria. They were abducted by the terror group Boko Haram. British and American teams have begun using advanced eavesdropping equipment to search thick forests where the schoolgirls are thought to have been taken. Today, America's First Lady took the rare step of delivering her husband's weekly address to condemn the kidnappings.
This unconscionable act was committed by a terrorist group determined to keep these girls from getting an education. Grown men attempting to snuff out the aspirations of young girls. And I want you to know that Barack has directed our government to do everything possible to support the Nigerian government's efforts to find these girls and bring them home.
3 members of the pop group Take That are facing the prospect of having to pay tens of millions of pounds to the taxman after a court ruled they were members of a huge tax avoidance scheme. Gary Barlow, Howard Donald, Mark Owen and their manager put £66 million into 2 schemes, which the court decided were artificial tax shelters for the super rich. The boss of Pfizer, the American drug company aiming to take over AstraZeneca, said the deal would be a win-win situation. In a video released on the company's website, he defended the proposed £63 billion takeover. There are fears the deal could threaten thousands of British jobs and undermine the UK's science base.
When you look at this combination, it really meets the scientific needs. It meets needs of efficiency. It meets needs of strengthening our balance sheet and strengthening our fiscal position. And it allows AZ shareholders to, number one, get an immediate benefit from the cash that we would pay them. It allows them to participate in a very strong combined company with great cash flows and great portfolio.
In football, there were 3 Premiership matches in Scotland. Kilmarnock ensured they stay up with a 1-0 victory over Hibernian, who are now consigned to a relegation playoff. Ross County beat Partick Thistle and St Mirren and Hearts drew 1-1. Finally, there's one European contest that Great Britain will be hoping to win tonight. Molly Smitten-Downs is among the favourites to win the Eurovision Song Contest with her own track, Children of the Universe. However, she faces tough competition from Austria and the so-called bearded lady drag act Conchita Wurst. And that's it. I'm back with the late news at 10 to 11. See you then.
Preparing the nation every day. ITV National Weather, sponsored by Vitabiotics Vitamins.
Hello and a very good evening to you. So the weather has been very unsettled across much of the UK throughout today, and we're going to see further showers for tonight. Now, some of these could be heavy, especially into parts of Scotland and Northern Ireland, and then overnight we've got another area of heavy rain just pushing into West Wales, so grotty conditions tonight, further heavy downpours of rain, and not only that, blustery winds too. Now, yet again, these could be very strong along southern coast. They're gusting up to 50 or 60 miles per hour. So tomorrow morning gets off to an unsettled start today, and the rest of Sunday is a mixture of sunny spells and scattered blustery showers, and it will feel cool too. We're looking at highs in the north of 9 degrees and in the south it's 15 or 59 Fahrenheit. See you later. Bye-bye.
ITV National Weather, sponsored by Vitabiotics Vitamins.